would go out.
Yes, thank you. The color coding, by the way, very impressive.
That goes a long ways from Supervisor Colfax, that comment. And it is response to our demand, I believe, the last meeting of an easy referenceable document. So I think that's good. Other comments from the board before I go to the public? Okay, thank you very much. I have one speaker card. Members of the public wishing to speak to this item, I'd sure like to have these cards made out ahead of time, but I do have one speaker card presently from Lisa Hilligus. Please state your name and keep your comments 3 minutes if possible.
Lisa Hilligus, Legal Services of Northern California, on behalf of Dottie Copeland. I'm heartened to hear that the planning team is planning on processing code amendments in this coming year. I did just want to point out, though, that my office is continuing to volunteer in the efforts to help prioritize which code amendments and which portions of the housing element are really need to be focused on in terms of trying to improve the performance of the county for this planning period, and most importantly, encourage the Board of Supervisors, the planning team, the executive office to make and have an open dialogue and a transparent process for this next planning period for the housing element, which again has to be submitted to HCD by August of '09. And in the past, that hasn't been the way it worked out, and as we know in the past, it's come to some extraordinary measures having to be taken to try to impress upon the county the importance of meeting its affordable housing goals and policies. And I sincerely hope that we can step into this next time period and choose an alternate path. I wanted to just underscore, I did this at the last meeting when we discussed the farm worker housing survey. Over about a year ago, it was reported that administrative drafts were prepared and awaiting staff review for almost every single ordinance and code amendment, and yet we're still sitting here without anything before you. In particular, I want to underscore and stress that preserving Action 4.1, which is preserving multifamily housing where that no single and two-family development can happen on anything that's an R3, would go a long way to preserving the land that we have that's for multifamily use. Also amending the ordinance, this is Action 1.2, to allow by right, with some permitting, multifamily to go on commercially zoned property. There would not need to be an amendment, a general plan amendment to allow that. Also, Action 6.6, which is amending zoning and land division codes to allow exceptions for standards for affordable housing development. That too would go a long way to getting our goals met for encouraging and facilitating the development of affordable housing, which is what the housing element's all about. That's our job, and I'm impressing upon the county at this point to really try to amplify its efforts in that regard. And last but not least, Action 6.7, which is for ag employment, a number of zoning ordinances that I believe would, in conjunction with the farm worker housing survey results, make it much more likely that we'll get some farm worker housing built in the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hilligus. Other members of the public wishing to speak to this item? Okay, bring it back to the board. Any final comments directed to the public or to staff? Okay, hearing none, we'll receive the report, and continued work is much appreciated. So with that, we'll recess from open session and complete our closed session item, and then we'll report back from that. So that'll conclude the open business meeting today.